Okay, let's call the City of Milton Common Council meeting to order on Tuesday, March 5th at 6:04 p.m. So really, it didn't take that much time. Good problem solving. And can I get confirmation of appropriate meeting notice?
A meeting notice was posted on Monday, March 4th at Milton City Hall, Milton, Piggly Wiggly, and Hometown Ace Hardware.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? We have an agenda, Pledge of Allegiance. Linda, do you want to lead us? Public comment.
There are no public comments.
There's no public comment, or there isn't anybody signed up. So we'll go on to Mayor Proclamation, Women's History Month. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. And whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation. And whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. And whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military. And whereas American women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. And whereas, despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, therefore, I, Anissa Welch, Mayor of the City of Milton, do hereby proclaim March as Women's History Month in the City of Milton. And I will sign it this 5th day of March, 2024. So, cheers to the women in the room. Okay, approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding Merchant Row parking request.
City staff has received a request from Cassidy Lewick. Is that correct? Okay, great. And regarding amending the public parking restrictions on Merchant Row, and this is regarding the Beverage Mart. So Cassidy is in the audience tonight to present this request.
Hello, I'm Cassidy Luke. This is my mom, Sue. She's the owner of the Beverage Mart.
And can you please give us your addresses, please? Thank you.
2005 South Walnut Street, Janesville.
Mine is 837 Newman Court here in Milton.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So what we want to address is just like possibly getting a parking stall or two in front of the businesses on Merchant Row due to the high volume sometimes that's held up there because it takes away our from businesses on that street sometimes when it gets busy. Like, for example, like the Junction Pub, they have big crowds sometimes, and then our patrons have nowhere to park. So we have recently lost a lot of business and have had lots of complaints about it. So we're just looking to maybe see if we can do on Merchant Row for all businesses to maybe get like one designated parking spot in front of each business if possible.
Or two like they have on Parkview Drive here, for business parking only. You know, because on Friday nights and Saturday nights, sometimes our customers have no place to park. They have to walk for a long ways if there's big events going on up there.
How many do we have? Do we have two business parking spots for each business on Parkview?
On Parkview, there are, I believe, 5 or 6 right in front of the Cove Bar. And then around the corner on College, there are 4 or 5 stalls. And the signs just read business parking only, so they're not specific to a singular business.
So is that something that you're looking for to be similar on Merchant Row? Is what we have on Parkview that just says business parking only?
Yeah, I think a couple, like in front of us, are the Beverage Mart, and, you know, because people are coming in even to Paul Revere's to try to pick up a pizza or something, and there's no parking for them. They have to walk for a long ways, or you can't really park underneath the bank because that's private parking, so they have to walk quite a distance.
I'm wondering if it would be beneficial to have a time limit to them, which would encourage people then who are going to the bar or for dinner not to use those parking spaces. You know, if you just put 15, 20 minutes limit on a couple of parking spaces, you are asking for a different use for those parking spaces.
I know we've had discussions on this with doing other additional spots at Parkview side, and I remember we did not go down that path. And one of the things that was mentioned from my memory, and I could be wrong, and the chief can correct me, but even if we post those signs and stuff, it doesn't necessarily mean we can heavily enforce it.
Correct.
It's not really enforceable. It's just a thing that then you hope that they are going to pay attention to those signs, and that's not something that necessarily seemed to happen. So with the Parkview side, because I remember that's one of the reasons they came to us to add more was because they still didn't feel like they had enough parking. So.
Any other comments?
I am going to concur with this request because I have had problems myself when I go and visit the Beverage Mart, which I will say is another one of our women's businesses. I think that these complaints are very legitimate, and I'm wondering. I thought that we had a 20-minute.
There are 2 20 minutes across the street.
Oh, but not right up on the sidewalk.
Yeah, like right in front of our business. You know, because
I wouldn't have a problem with putting those signs right up on the business because it is when you have a downtown and you have so many different businesses, we really do need to accommodate these small places where people are just coming in and out.
And you know what? We do close at 9 o'clock at night. After you could even post a time on there too, till like 9 p.m. You know, and most people got their pizzas or whatever by that time anyway. There are freed up stalls coming in after that. So,
Mark, didn't we put one on College recently or 2? I thought we followed through with that. That was Hattie Elsie, I think, that asked, and I thought we did.
I think, like Brandon mentioned, there's a couple of business that say business parking only, and then I think there might have been a 10-minute stall, but that might have been removed as part of that discussion.
I didn't see any 10-minute stalls. I just saw them signed business parking only. And
they're not specific to any one business. So I don't know, how it would be regulated what business could use them.
No.
Which would be the concern I would have here in their situation.
I would echo Mark's concern just because they could say they're picking up food at, Frederick's or something like that. So it'd be hard to enforce that. And now you've emailed me regarding your parking concerns on Merchant, and we had an officer swing by. I wasn't addressed ideally the way I would have liked to have seen it addressed. So I sent that a memo out again to the staff to try to monitor that. But the issues that we face are the difficulties, especially with a short 20-minute window like that, being able to enforce that, especially if the officer's called away. So again, it's more of we're hoping for compliance if we do sign it like that. But then if we leave it open to, similar to the businesses on Parkview and College, it's really up for interpretation as to who they're going to be visiting and frequenting. And enforcement, I think, would be very difficult.
We did have at one time, though, we had pickup and delivery only for parking on Goodrich Square.
That was, I think, a time limit, and it was there because of the Rockies,
Right.
and they wanted a spot for the delivery driver to be able to actually pull up and park, so they can load up and stuff like that. So there was a time stall there for a while, then I think that got removed. But I think that if we were to put signs there, they do need to be the time limit signs in hopes of for compliance and not business parking only, because anybody could argue down there that they're there for business, whether it be going to a restaurant or not. It still pertains to those other businesses there. So that would be, if we were to do signs, that'd be the way to probably try to do it. But again, you're just gonna hope that people actually will try to obey it on their own goodwill, which there's no guarantee of that, unfortunately.
Yeah, while there's no guarantee, I think that a lot of people would comply if there were signs there. And so the likelihood that there would be spaces available, I've parked in front of the liquor park to go elsewhere before. If that sign was there, I know I wouldn't, park there. I would find another parking spot. And I think there are a lot of people that would voluntarily comply.
So is there a motion from council then?
One more question: what would be the cost of putting those signs in?
I don't know exactly, but less, if it's one sign and a post, take our staff time, and then the materials is probably less than $100 per each location.
So now what you're looking for exactly is the signs to be directly on the sidewalk in front of the business.
And you don't need to put it directly in front of my particular business, just in that area so that my customers could come in. And like I said, we close by 9, so anytime after that, or people come in to pick up pizzas or even to Frederick's, they can have a couple of stalls there.
I would think it makes sense to kind of put them right between the two.
Yeah, it's not like they're in there for a long time for any purpose to get any of the pizzas or your to-goes, so.
I think we could pick two stalls that are right next to, it looks like a handicap spot. That's a little more in front of Paul Revere's, but it's right next to both businesses that could then benefit both.
Yeah, I think so too.
I would like to make a motion that we proceed with 20-minute signs in Goodrich Square in the approximate location of the Beverage Mart and...
I just want to interrupt for a second.
Or not.
Merchant Row.
Merchant Row.
Merchant
not
Row.
Goodrich. You wanted Merchant Row, correct?
On the street, Merchant Row.
Not
Yes.
Goodrich Square.
I'm sorry, I always refer to that area as Goodrich Square. So on Merchant Row, directly in front of the sidewalk.
How many?
2.
All right. All right. There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second.
So are you looking to have a ordinance prepared for that? There is an ordinance right now, 70-154, which deals with locations for parking that has a time limit. Right now, it is 10 minutes for that, but right now. But we could provide that there'd be another subpart, which would be 20 minutes, and we could then be more specific in terms of the exact location, and by ordinance, then it makes it easier to enforce, certainly easier to prosecute, and then allows for forfeitures for any violation of the parking. Otherwise, just by resolution, there is another section that you could probably do it under for a resolution, but I think it's more clear if you just go under the same section that you already have for restricted parking based on the timing.
And would we just amend the motion to include creating an ordinance?
Amending.
I would bring the ordinance back to the next meeting so everyone has an opportunity to read it and understand its full ramifications other than just doing that on the fly.
Yeah, I would agree that would be better, because then we could work with Public Works and the department if necessary to fix the location. Right now it's kind of ambiguous. and that's not helpful to the police department to do that. So, or Public Works and figuring out where to put it. So, if you could direct an ordinance to be prepared and then bring it back by the next meeting, I think that would accomplish better what you want to do. And that would be better for them as well. Then they're more clear on what's going on there and they can point to an ordinance.
So do you want to just have them withdraw that motion and second and then do a different motion?
Yes.
I withdraw that motion.
She's seconding, withdrawing her second.
I'll withdraw.
Okay, I'll make a motion that staff prepare an ordinance for the next meeting to accommodate the time of the parking for Merchant Row and parking place designation.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we'll see you at next month's meeting.
All right, thank you.
All right, discussion and possible action regarding Resolution 2024-02, authorizing the submission of a Community Development Investment Grant application to Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation for the Stockman Property Ventures LLC project located at 701 East High Street.
Stockman Property Ventures LLC intends to refurbish 701 East High Street. They are requesting that the city apply for a community development investment grant. This is a site that has been run down and blighted and underutilized for several years. Stockman Properties has purchased the property and is looking to redevelop it. This will cost minimal staff time because Stockman Property has indicated they will be doing all the reporting to the WEDC if the grant is awarded. I liken this to the T grants that we've done for other businesses in town, just on a smaller level, where they're doing most of the legwork, but we are sponsoring that grant. And administration does recommend approving this resolution.
Questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-02, Stockman Property CDI Grant.
I'll second that.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone abstaining?
I abstain.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding the nonprofit donation process. So the reason I brought this forward, and it's nothing that you have to decide or even discuss tonight, but it's because we're going to start our budget process, and routinely this comes up, particularly during budget amendment time, and so I wanted you all to be thinking about, do you want to do something more equitable around the nonprofit donation? Do you want, and these are things to think about, not to vote on tonight. Would you like to have something where there isn't anything in the budget, but there's something, if there's a budget amendment, maybe based on a percentage, so similar to the state of Wisconsin new shared revenue formula where municipalities get a certain percentage of sales tax, would you want to consider having nonprofits just get like a certain percentage? if there was a budget amendment. I wanted you to be aware of what your contributions were over the past few years, and you can see the years where you did a budget amendment when there was, you increased your donation when there was a budget amendment. Just so you have something to think about. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to discuss it, but just to be prepared during budget time. Maybe if there's anything you want to do differently, because it seems like there isn't consistency for our nonprofits, right? From year to year, they don't know what they're going to get. I'm not even saying that a new process would have any definitive knowing what they're going to get. But if we don't start thinking about these things ahead of budget time, then we come to budget time. And then the repeated discussion over the past years at budget time is always, what are we going to give? Well, can we give something if there's leftovers the next year? And there isn't consistency or necessary equity built in those. So that's why I put it on for tonight, and we can put it on another agenda too if once you have time to think about it. Maybe you have ideas that you would like staff to look into. Other municipalities do donate to nonprofits, and we can look at how they decide their final amounts. So it's just something for you to think about.
Just curious, is this something we could do a workshop on?
If you would like to do a workshop on it, we can look in. I'm not going to speak for staff, I guess. I could look into and when you talk about a workshop, what do you have in mind when you say a workshop?
I guess what I was thinking is outside of council meeting, still open to the public, stuff like that, but outside of council meeting discussion specifically on that topic and maybe a brainstorming session.
So I was talking to Paul because Paul had talked about some different approaches to the budgeting process, and I just asked him if this was something that aligned with what he was thinking of. And so this is something that we could do around the budget process, is have a workshop. That would also give you all time to check out what other municipalities do. What are some ideas, so you can be more included in that budget process too.
It is my intention over the next budget process to have the council a lot more involved in the budget process than I think they have been in the past, and I think that will give you guys more ideas of how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
And I think that some people really have expressed interest in that to me, and but this is something that we can do, Ryan, is have that workshop beforehand so we can learn what other communities do and things like that.
Great ideas. All right. Discussion and possible action regarding a final plat for Tower Hill.
The owners of Tower Hill have requested that we withdraw this. They are working on some modifications to that plat, mostly to provide easements for power. I expect this to come ahead of Planning Commission and Council at the next meeting. So if we can table that for this meeting, I'd appreciate it.
Do you need a motion to table it?
Please.
Make a motion to go ahead and table it then to our next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding change order number 1 for the Putman Parkway Improvements Project.
So this was the project to construct the cul-de-sac at the west end of Putman Parkway. It was part of the larger overall capital improvement project that we decided to take on last year. The change order is final project cost reconciliation based on as constructed quantities. Projects like this are bid with unit prices and estimates, and as the project is constructed. The final real quantities are measured in the field. The change order provides a net increase of $10,704.95 and is funded by TIF 11. City administration recommends approving the Putman Parkway improvements change order number 1.
Questions or comments by council?
I'll make a motion that to approve the Putman Parkway improvement change order number 1.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding change order number 1 for the 2121 Street and Utility Improvements Project.
Similar to the last item, this is also a change order to reconcile final quantities with what was actually constructed in the field. It was also unit price based, so the bid was estimated at the time. This change order provides a net decrease of $24,521.90 to the overall project cost. The reason for the long delay is that that staff had been waiting for a contractor to provide appropriate documentation to close out the project. So that is why this project from 2021 is being brought forward this evening. City administration recommends approving the 2021 street and utility improvements change order number 1.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approving 2021 street utility improvement change order number 1.
Second?
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding award of the biosolids hauling contract.
Annually, the biosolids are removed from the wastewater treatment plant. It's one of the final processes that are required in our wastewater treatment process. The current 5-year contract was completed with biosolids hauling completed in 2023. Staff prepared an RFP that was put out on the street for bidders, advertised in the Janesville Gazette on January 30th and February 6th. The lowest price was provided by Bitech Resource Management. They are the vendor who has provided the service the last 5 years. We received 2 proposals, and the amounts are listed in the memo here tonight. There is an increase from the 2023 rate of 0.0377 cents per gallon to 0.0445 cents per gallon. The total hauled last year was just over $22,000. So you would expect a similar amount next year, again, commensurate with the growth in the rate. If approved, staff will bring forward an agreement to council for the 5-year term. City administration recommends approving the proposal from Bitech Resource Management for wastewater biosolids removal for the years 2024 through 2028.
So if my math is right, then we'll basically look at about a $6,000 increase, well, $5,000 to $6,000 increase over the next year or two. Yeah, the math is about 18% increase.
Yeah, that sounds right. I just closed it here. I'm trying to jump back into the. Yeah, and it would be dependent on how many gallons are hauled too. So as we see more growth, we produce more biosolids and have more to haul. So I'm just checking your math here.
So it would be an estimate at best.
Yeah, at this time it's an estimate. We're hiring the vendor to provide the service.
And then we're looking at potentially paying 0.061 per gallon by the end of the contract?
Correct. That's what the amount that was listed in the proposal. And you are correct. It was about $4,000 more. Yeah.
But that 2028 number is an optional number. Is that both optional for the hauler and the city?
We have the way the proposal was prepared. It required 3 years, them to provide a price for 3 years, and the final 2 years were an optional number that they could provide, which they did. It would be up to the city to determine if we wanted to enter into that agreement. I think if you take a look at the Midwest Injection proposal, you'll see the numbers were quite a bit higher for them. So I feel like the rates we received, while higher than what we had previously, are still fair compared to the other proposal.
It's more than I'm just noticing a steep increase, especially over the years, and that's all I'm noticing. And don't necessarily have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Just noticing it.
So you'll just bring something back if council,
If you approve the proposal tonight, we'll bring an agreement forward. If we don't approve the proposal tonight, we'll have to figure out how we want to proceed with biosolids removal for the 2024 season and going forward. It's land spread on fields that we acquire rights to spread on by working with the landowners. Staff does soil testing required by the DNR. It's a process that involves a fair amount of time. We have a limited storage volume at our facility too, so there's not the ability to store it longer than a year. So we do need to have a solution to proceed with disposal.
and could you, if it's a hassle, don't have to, but you could bring back for 3 years and for 5 years?
I guess if you could, I mean, the numbers are not going to change. That's what's in here. So if that's something that was desired, you could ask for that tonight. You could ask for a 3-year. I think what I would look for with the agreement with the contractor and working with the contractor is the ability for either party to exit the agreement with some amount of notice, 60 days notice or something like that. I would recommend approving the 5-year proposal. I suspect similar to what we saw with these numbers compared to the last bid, in 3 years or in 5 years, we'll see a substantial jump again with the next RFP. So,
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from Biotech Resource Management for wastewater biosolids removal for the year 2024 through 2028.
Bill, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
He had a question.
My question related to Paul's question in terms of who the option is for, whether they're, if we accept the 5-year, whether they're locked into those rates for the 4th and 5th year versus kind of the what Mark was expressing, which was 60-day notice and out for them. I think we're better served if we lock it in for the 5 years, given the information that's been presented by the other vendor.
What my motion was to include all years.
I'll
There.
second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a contract with General Engineering Company for cross-connection control services.
excuse me, cross-connection control is a requirement of the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources and detailed in City Ordinance Chapter 74, Division 4. General Engineering Company has provided cross-connection control services for the city since 2018 under the same contract. From time to time, changes are necessary to the contract due to cost increases, different service needs, or changes to contract language. GEC has provided the attached agreement for review. Similar to the previous agreement, it is automatically renewed unless either party provides at least 60 days notice prior to the renewal date. The agreement has been reviewed by City Attorney Schrader. Some changes, the fiscal changes. They are requesting an increase of their hourly rate from the 2018 contract of $80 an hour to $85 an hour, and requesting a maximum administrative fee of $1,250. They're also recommending a change to the small business inspection fee to an hourly rate from the current per inspection rate. This is anticipated to result in a savings of approximately $250 for each initial small business inspection and $23.75 for each reinspection. There are changes to the hourly rates included as well. Those would only be necessary if additional services were requested. The annual fee for the 2021 through 2023 years has been approximately $6,000 per year, and that included a scheduled 65 inspections in 2023. Currently for 2024, there are 53 inspections scheduled. City administration recommends approving the professional service agreement for cross-connection control inspection.
Questions or comments?
I'd make a motion that we approve the professional service agreement for cross-connection control inspection with GEC. Second.
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a contract with Team Clean LLC for cleaning services.
This is for cleaning services for the public library, city hall, and police department. Cleaning has historically been provided by various ways here in the city. Sometimes public works staff has done it. We have had vendors in the past, or summer help. The library has a part-time cleaning person who has recently requested a reduction in hours, which was approved. DPW staff has been providing some assistance for cleaning the facilities, but it's very minimal at this time based on our current workload. So staff decided to pursue cleaning service quotes and vendors to perform the work. We obtained 5 proposals from 5 different vendors. The lowest cost is listed here as Team Clean, and if you look at the fiscal impact section, it describes the costs. It's about $2,500 per year for City Hall, and then approximately $5,500 for each of the library and the police station. The contract includes an automatic renewal for a rate adjustment based on CPI, not to exceed 4%. The 2024 budget allocates funds for cleaning the library. Overall, when the additional cleaning services are added and the reduction in hours for the public works staff who currently cleans the library, it results in a net increase of $438 for the additional cleaning services, which would be funded with general funding. City administration recommends approving the service agreement with Team Clean LLC.
Questions or comments? Bill?
I just had a question in regard to cleaning for the police department. Are there special insurance requirements or bonding requirements or anything like that that would go along with the sensitive nature of the areas being cleaned?
Nothing for bonding or insurance. I mean, Team Clean LLC is insured. However, they'd have to be background check required and fingerprints required for any employees working on site at the police department, whether police department staff is present or not. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No. Go ahead.
I would move to approve the service agreement with Team Clean.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding strategic plan timeline.
In 2020, the City of Milton Common Council approved a strategic plan for years 2020 to 2024. Now it's time to revisit that strategic plan and update it for the next 5 years. Staff is proposing to work with Common Council, staff, community members on developing and updating the strategic plan for City of Milton 2025. The planning process will provide an opportunity to review the city's strengths as well as major issues and challenges. Also provide a venue for goals, objectives, and strategies, actions to be developed to address these specific issues. I'd like to start this initiative. If council approves so, staff anticipates the strategic plan will be completed by early September. It is going to be a 6-month process. So the guidance of the plan can be utilized for the 2024 budget process. And recommendation is to approve this timeline. I will note this timeline will require a little extra time from council, coming in for extra meetings, and there'd be more workshop meetings and less formal meetings to discuss these things. I think several of you have gone through strategic planning, either here or at some other level in your life, so you know how a lot of this works. I would appreciate approval of this strategic plan timeline.
I'll make a motion to approve the strategic plan timeline of
Second.
25-29.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, you're just scheduling your summer. I love it. Okay. All right, discussion and possible action regarding committee and commission appointments.
Okay, so we've had a couple vacancies that have come up recently, and one of those is on board of review. Sherry Moore is now on police commission and has decided not to continue hers on board of review. And with that, because we have the full assessment reevaluation coming up, we may need some new people on board of review prior to the reorganization meeting in April. And so Matt Kijel, who is also on Parks and Recreation, he has requested to be added to the board of review, and the mayor has reviewed the application.
And I recommend approval. Questions or comments or motions? Go ahead.
I do have a question. Is there any way when we have these appointments that we can see the application or get information on, otherwise I'm just approving somebody I don't really know. Is there any background information that we could get?
We do receive a questionnaire that the mayor reviews and staff reviews, so we can add that to the packet. We would just redact their personal information.
Sure. Yeah.
We can do that in the future.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I would move approval of the appointment.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. General items, committee reports.
Historic Preservation met about a week and a half ago, and we are working on some interpretive sign project, putting interpretive signs up around the city, and we are hopefully applying for a grant to help pay for those signs, which would be a nice win if we can get it. It's a very competitive grant, though. And then we also are looking at possibly bringing forth a suggestion for a change in the voting membership of the commission to include the Milton House director, who's currently non-voting, and the youth member, who's also currently non-voting, to have them become voting members and then part of the group of 9. So looking forward to proposing that, possibly.
Great. Any other committee reports? Thank you. Okay. Staff reports. Chief.
Currently, we are in the hiring process for a police officer. Officer Pierre Miller had resigned effective March 2nd and took employment with the Town and Beloit Police Department. I'm very optimistic. We've received a fair amount of applications comparative to a lot of our neighbors for the hiring of one spot, so that's promising. Other than that, our new squad is arriving likely in May after an April build, so that's coming a lot sooner than anticipated from the year previous for the previous 2 squads. Outside of that, no real staffing changes and no real wild stuff happening at the police department, which is good.
Okay. We'll see what happens during that solar eclipse. Is the library going to have like a solar eclipse party or something?
We are having a solar eclipse party, and we do have solar eclipse glasses that will only be handed out during that party. So hopefully the weather and clouds cooperate that day, but it'll be outside in our story gardens. We are also accepting submissions for original poetry for a poetry walk in Story Gardens in April, because April is National Poetry Month. So if you are a poet or think you're a poet, please submit some poetry for us. I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but the library was awarded the Tourism Accounts Award from the Chamber for all the people that we bring into the community, because our library is awesome thanks to the support from the city. So we'll get that award next week. The chickens in our makerspace should be hatching sometime later next week, so come take a look at all the chickens. Hopefully there's a lot of chickens. The ag students are coming on Thursday to candle them to kind of see if any of them are viable. So we'll have an update on our Facebook on that. Marika, who is our tween librarian, she is launching a board of library tweens, also known as BLT, which will be similar to our teen advisory board, but for those ages 9 to 12. So they'll help Marika with program planning and services specific to the age group. So we have a teen advisory board that's Max is actually on it as well. That's been at the library since 2015. We have a teen member on our library board. She's non-voting, so we've had that since, I don't know when Bill was on the board, so it's been a while. So we're excited to have tweens, a younger group, come in and help us with library programming. And then the Melton Youth Coalition has a meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30 here. And then we'll have our next night meeting on Tuesday, April 9th, for those who cannot make our morning meetings.
Very good. Thank you very much. Mark, you've had a big night tonight. Anything to add to it?
We've got a position posted for summer help, or for looking to fill 3 summer help positions. So if anybody knows of anybody, pass that along. Otherwise, some spring stuff, working through some playground inspections and other items, and hoping the grass doesn't start growing too soon.
Do we have to do a mow?
No.
May? It's on the next agenda. Okay, just so that's on everybody's radar. Jenny.
Right now, we're preparing for the election, so absentee ballots are expected to go out by Monday at this time. We have not received them yet, but that is the goal. And then also that the city is seeking nominations for the community awards, and so you can nominate people who have demonstrated, extraordinary commitment to the city of Milton in 2023. The community picnic where the awards will be handed out is scheduled for May 9th. So you can do nominations either on their website, you can contact City Hall, or you can mail in a nomination.
Okay. Paul.
I'll speak for Kelsey real quick. We are in the middle of our audit for 2023. It's been going very well. This is her 3rd audit with the city, so she's feeling much more comfortable. But we are in the middle of that process, and as far as I'm aware, everything's going real good. For my part, it looks like we're holding our ATV workshop. Tentatively, we're still waiting on one confirmation, but that's going to be on March 25th at 5:30. That's 3 weeks from today, or from yesterday, excuse me. CDA met yesterday, and they discussed a short-term rental ordinance that will be in front of City Council next meeting, excuse me. Just to regulate and get an idea of what short-term rentals, Airbnbs, VRBOs, private short-term rentals are going on within the city. I've been working with a developer on a plot inside the business park, and hopefully I'll have something for you at the next meeting on that one as well. So things are going well.
All right, so Local Government 101. So this is in lieu of team building. So all you have to do is look at a handout tonight. Only because there's going to be a lot on the back end of this. But so Local Government 101 has historically been mostly in person and provided by the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. They did do some virtual during COVID, and they have provided us with books. We've had those books available for several years now, and they have also a digital version of their Government 101 training that we have had available for a long time too. I wanted to bring this forward so you can look at the syllabus to see what is covered in the Local Government 101 training. I originally, and you can thank me later, was going to have that training tonight, but it was an hour and a half. It was an hour and a half of team building. I'm pretty sure staff didn't want to sit around for it and shouldn't have to. And it was a lot of time commitment for all of you. Paul and Jenny and I have had a lot of discussions around this because we want to make sure that everyone is up to date on Local Government 101 basics. I went in 2013, right? So I haven't been to this training in 10 years. So what I am proposing in order to be thoughtful of staff time and your time, is that you have the syllabus, and what we could do is schedule this by Zoom for council only, and do the first section where basically we would watch a video together, and then, you know, we can talk about it, or you can just think about it after you watch the video, just to start us all off. Now, this is kind of a placeholder, because we know in the next few months, the League of Wisconsin Municipalities is going to launch what is it called? Is there a name, like a specified name? The learning
They're
module?
calling it a micro learning digital platform.
Ta-da! So, what that is, and
to explain it a little bit more,
I'll let Jenny go ahead and explain it.
So
'Cause
what
I
they
really like it.
So what they have explained is that because there is not as many people, it's getting more difficult to go through the process in one day, or to either go in person or even by a Zoom. And then what it is a series of small videos on the platform, and then you can keep track of where you're at. So it's similar to some like a college level courses where you have that platform. It's in a system. You go in that learning platform and then go ahead and start. Each one. They haven't given a lot of details on it or the specific date, but they are expecting it in the beginning of May to accommodate after reorganizations for councils and boards.
And the nice thing about that is you can keep track of where you're. I know you guys just love this, but you know, what else do you have to do this summer? You can keep track of where you're at, in the process, and then we can keep track of where you're at too. And, you know, we can kind of set some learning goals for all of us, where we can kind of keep pace with each other. So then there's an opportunity, if you have questions or you want to get together, do a study group and have questions answered, or whatever you want. And it's like not obviously going to be like, hey, get this done in 2 weeks, right? I don't like foresee it like being like that, but just so we can all learn together at, you know, around the same pace, and it'll be a good refresher. And it's not for staff, so it's not for you guys. So it'll be a good refresher for all of us that have been our more senior elected officials, and it'll be good new training for those of you that have not had the opportunity to go to that, because it's a lot, right? It's a lot to set aside time, and we're all busy. So that's the idea. Any questions or comments, or boo? You can boo it. Linda, I guess you don't have to take it.
Well, you just never know.
Linda's launching a write-in campaign.
No.
It's a joke.
Don't. I just want to say to everybody on the city council that if you haven't been through these courses, you're not doing yourselves any favor as far as understanding how the city goes about doing things. And I know from my personal experience and the time that I have participated in the League of Wisconsin, this is an educational process, and it is something that benefits the city altogether. I'm not going to go into the conferences. Well, I'll save that for another time. But I do truly encourage you, go back and review it, and, refresh yourselves on this stuff, because it truly does help you to understand the processes that we take, even down to the commissions and the committees.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm looking forward to it. I've been meaning to take it for some months now, just haven't found the time.
Yes.
Just a comment that I actually have taken it twice. One time, the whole thing in one day, and the second time I split up into 4 sections. And I guess just to say that I would prefer it split up into 4 sections, that it really was beneficial to have each one separate so that you could think it through in that format.
So, Teresa probably has notes she can share with you to pass the quizzes.
Oh, yes, I have them all typed up and
Those quizzes.
There's, it's like an online educational module, which, is that how the harassment training is going to be?
and I have the books that go along with it.
And there's books. Yeah, so, and there will be another learning opportunity that's actually mandatory for everybody on council and staff to take, which is the harassment training. It'll be, I'm assuming, a similar platform where you read, you watch, you take, answer some questions. Is that how it's going to be?
It's through CIVMIC, so if you've taken any of the trainings previously through CIVMIC, it is going to be a video where you can stop and watch it at your convenience. So that is the recommended this year, is to go through that training. It was just updated last year, and it is required for council and staff to complete.
Is there a deadline? Like, I know at the county, like, we were, like, for mandatory trainings like that, we were given, like, you have, like, 30 days to complete it or something. Is there a deadline for that one?
Kelsey is coordinating those trainings, and so she'll provide those as soon as they are available and be sending out the information as far as, so I don't have a deadline, but we'll make a recommendation for when they should be completed.
Didn't that used to be like an in-person thing we did from Brent? I think that's what they used to do, is come in here and, okay.
Yeah, there used to be in person, and that is still an option to have an in-person training. CIVMIC has recommended the version that is online because it actually goes in more depth with it, and people have seemed to have gotten better reviews essentially. So that was something that was decided among staff. They thought, and also it makes it a little bit easier in case there are people that are not able to attend. Again, more for staff on different shifts.
So that's kind of that. I know it was a little bit more dry than team building. So we'll have to come up with something really fun for next meeting for team building. All right, Eric.
I'll make a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to 19851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whether competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session regarding the university year contract.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Where are we having it?
We're going to have that in my office.
Ooh, it's going to be cozy.
Because the auditors are in the.
The auditors have taken over the conference room.
Oh.
Okay. We do not have anything to act on. Our next meeting date is March 19th. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? We're adjourned.